Welcome to the Old Time Podcast Hour. Today's guest is my friend Hardy, who does most of the heavy lifting on this episode as he tells his incredible stories from his life growing up in the Democratic Republic of Congo, moving to India, and now he's at Liberty University. Hardy told me that he was independently trying to record some of his stories, which gave me the perfect opportunity to offer him my microphones and to feature him on this show. So I hope that you will enjoy listening. And here it is. Dude, I didn't know you were a gun guy. That's interesting.
I love guns. Like, I love everything that pretty much relates to not violence, but what let's say discipline of being a soldier. Pretty much.
The tactical
kind
of stuff
and everything. And I mean, since I've been in rough situations, I pretty much learned that you don't want to be in that position, but it's always better to be the one beyond the gun than facing it.
Right.
Yeah.
You have the mindset for preparedness.
Mm-hmm. That's out of experience. It's always, I don't know how they feel, but it sucked to be, on the other side of a gun.
Yeah,
gun.
I would think.
Yeah.
You have definitely more experience with that than your average person.
Mm-hmm.
I think most Americans are totally unfamiliar with the conflict that surrounded you in your home country.
Most of the time.
And wouldn't expect that was in your background based on the kind of person you are. That you're so chill, down to earth, as we would just consider you a normal dude. Mm-hmm. And yet you've got these crazy stories. Which, I've already heard some of it. Usually I go into these talks, like, not really knowing what I'm going to hear. But I want to hear exactly the things I've already heard again. Because every time you tell it, I'm like, I can't believe this is Hardy's story.
So, most of it, if I'm pretty much who I am right now, I didn't forget about it, but I used it as, I transformed it as a strength, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's thanks to my parents, my dad mainly. Well, because after those moments, after those rough periods, he pretty much was like a counselor, because the African type of dad is the one that's, when he gets into the house, all the kids run away. That's literally what we used to do.
Okay. The intimidating
intimidating
figure.
He doesn't laugh to kids. He doesn't laugh with you and everything. He's a protector, he's a provider and everything, but he's like the lion of the house. But after those moments, it actually because from where I am, I'm from the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. There've been there've been a lot of war. This is pretty much all over the country at some point. When there was this guy Mobutu, he was a dictator for 32 years, and everybody was fed up with him and everything. And rebels at some point wanted to take over the power, and some of them used the side of where I was born, which is Matadi. I was around 8 or something. Anyway, I was old enough to remember what was happening, to be scared, to remember, and to understand what was happening and everything. And the first time it happened, I remember I was in the backyard of our house. I was pretty much, it was a small forest on the backyard, and I was playing there with my brother, and I seen people coming up, hiding behind trees and coming up and everything.
In plain view of your house.
In plain view.
Yeah.
Because how the house was set up was, when you go really down below the house, like on the back, you can come from the main road up to our house and other house, our neighbor's house and everything. So they used that side, and if you go really farther than that, there is a lake or whatever that is. I don't know exactly what it was. So I believe they used that road, and they were coming back from our backyards and up. And the next thing I know, bullets was going all over the place. And the second thing I knew, my dad was rushing into the house, closing windows and everything, shutting windows up and everything, and getting all of us to get in the room.
So this moment, you're seeing civilians fleeing. You're not seeing soldiers yet, necessarily.
Actually, I've seen some of them.
Okay, so you know what they're running from.
Yeah, behind trees and everything. But I didn't quite understand what was going on. I never seen anybody hiding in our backyard. So
How much were you aware that there was fighting going on?
I was aware of it actually when I started hearing bullets
But
flying
just
all over
in
the place.
general, were you aware that there's fighting in your area, in your community?
Yeah,
Or
I actually understood that.
okay.
Yeah, but the funny thing was when my dad grouped us inside a room, um, my brother I had a toy, and in my hand it was a car toy, I believe. So it was made of some kind of wires that we used to play with in Africa and everything. And my brother took it from me. He started running around with it, and I started chasing him, shouting at him and everything. And my dad was there. I have 5 sisters and 3 older sisters, so they were grown enough for them to be raped or whatever. And when they were passing by, they were getting into houses, shooting and everything. Like bullets was real. Like it was continuous. It didn't stop for a moment. People were shouting all around, and most of those went. I don't know why. I don't know how, but it felt like there were some people, our neighbors, who weren't aware of what was going on because some of them were still outside, or if they seen you running into the house, they might run in to get. What they tried to do was get civilians to come outside so that when the regular army attack them, they can use human being as body shield, like shield and everything, so that they can get to the regular army or whatever that is.
So they are literally on the prowl for human shields.
Exactly. So that's why when my dad came in, he tried to keep us in a room and quiet as possible. And my brother took my toy, started running with it, and I started chasing him, shouting. And my dad got so scared that he tried to get me to shut up. I wouldn't shut up. I just kept on shouting. For the first time, I mean, that wasn't the first time he slapped me. But for the first time in my life, I actually wonder if that man loved me. Because that slap, I remember it was the back of his hand, right on my nose. Like when I talk about it and think about it, I can actually feel it again. It was right above like my nose and mouth and eye, pretty much. It covered all the space, like eye, from my eye to my nose to my mouth. And that actually kept me quiet. Like I actually shut
Yeah,
up.
it was an emergency measure.
Yeah, I actually shut up and I stopped crying. And then I actually realized that there was a war going outside. So I couldn't cry. I mean, anyway, I shut up and the thing went on for hours because I remember, I mean, not sleeping, but just, I don't know if I lost consciousness or whatever, but just sleeping for a moment or whatever that is. And by the time I woke up, it was getting dark. And I remember I was playing outside right after school. So I came back home around 1 p.m. So it was getting dark already by that time. So it was around 6, I believe so. Yeah, pretty much. And the thing I mean, after that, some things became quiet. By the time my dad still kept us indoors until a few hours later, when he stepped outside himself to go check out what was going on. We went outside with him, and there were people crying, bodies and beside us or whatever, and maybe some people that we knew were around too. That was the first time. I mean, he passed by. I believe the regular army was able to push them back and stuff like that. And after a few days or so, my dad actually lost his job because of the war, whatever, people died there or whatever. So my dad was out of a job, and the house that we had was provided by that job. So we're out of out of the house. We had to go live in my dad's friend's garage for a few moments, and for a good period of time, we had nothing pretty much due to that war. Pretty much, a lot of stuff was destroyed and everything. And not even too long after that, less than a year after that, another wave of war came in. That time, my dad was in the capital, which is Kinshasa still, looking for a job and everything, trying to set up stuff there so that we could move up there. So when we went up there, I believe it was at the end of this school year. So my sisters went to one of my aunties to spend some time there, and that was in Boma. Boma was the city pretty much after Matadi, where I was living, and the war, that second war that I experienced, started from there. from Boma coming down.
So where were you at that time? You were kind of taking refuge because you didn't have this home anymore. Where were you?
Yeah, actually, after that, my dad was able to find a small house.
Okay.
Just, yeah, by his friends.
And how old were you?
That was the year after. So around, if not 8, 9.
Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty much about around that gap. And I remember my sisters were with my auntie, and the war pretty much came from there. And next thing we know, our home bullets started flying around, and people started running. We had to leave at the moment because I remember our neighbors coming in, rushing us to leave and everything and stuff like that. So my mom, I remember there were my mom, me, my younger brother, and 2 of my sisters, my younger sister, and I have a younger brother now. So I have 7 siblings. So the last one wasn't born yet. The 2 last one at the time were babies, like really babies. They couldn't, like, I believe the last one at that time was just born, and then I had my sister was about 1 or 2, 1.5 years or something, and my brother wasn't grown enough to understand what was going on pretty much either. I mean, he was grown enough, but not enough to understand what was going on. So the funny thing was, I knew that the house where we're living, the main road was right up above. So I knew that to go to where Dad was, which was Kinshasa, you have to take the left. To go to Boma, you have to take the right, because you those cities are come right after each other, and we traveled so many times that I knew that to go to Boma, you have to take this road. Like when you're on the highway, you take the right to go to Boma, and the left to go to Kinshasa. But the funny thing was, when we got out with my mom with a few things that we could carry, we took the right. And I asked my mom where we were going. She said, there's no way she's leaving without her daughters. I was like, okay, let's go die then. We started walking up where rebels were coming from. And I remember my mom singing Christian songs and everything and praying while we were walking. And we stopped. There were some points where there were a lot of people waiting for cars that was coming by, and they just jump in so they could drive down to the capital.
Okay.
And my mom stepped away from them, and I was wondering why. I actually asked her again why she wasn't going where everybody was, so that we can get into a car and go away. And she was like, no, I prayed, there's a car that will come right here where we are and take us to Boma. I was like,
so she's picked a spot on this like lineup of cars where people are hitching rides. Uh-huh. She's not with the pack. She's separated.
She's separated.
Okay.
Yeah, waiting for a car, telling me that
she believes is going to come right there.
She prayed, and she knows that a car would come right there to pick us up to go get my sisters, which was the opposite way of where car was going from. Was going to. I was like, my mom is crazy. So anyway, we stayed there. She was my mom. She was holding my hand, so we waited. It didn't take long at all. A bus, a minivan, pretty much drove through all those people. Nobody could get. I don't know how, but nobody got into the bus. It got to us where my mom was. We got into the front seat, and then right after that, the bus was just filled up with people. I didn't know at that time what was going on. I understood it when I grew up. That's actually because she kept on repeating, like she always repeat to us that even when we're kids, that we live by the grace. I'm from a Christian family and everything. And my mom prays a lot. Like she might try to turn on the car. She knows that the battery is what's wrong. Why she pray for it?
It's a spiritual problem.
It's a spiritual problem. Mom, just plug in the batteries. But I have to pray for it first. I was like, okay. So we don't argue about that. So we got into the bus, and the funny thing was the bus actually turned around, started going to Boma, because the driver, the owner of the bus, had to go back to pick up his family, who was there too.
Okay, so this is the way that you guys want to go.
Yeah. Okay. This is the way that we want to go. So the guy turned around, and people see him going the opposite way to where we were supposed to go. So everybody gets off. And on our way up there, we seen my sisters and my auntie coming down. We'd been dragged along, actually. So it was like a 5-minute drive, and we seen my sister on the road running with everybody else from rebels and everything. And actually, at that time, they weren't really shooting at civilians. They were just blending in with civilians. Like you could see them around with gun, weapons, and everything. The one that was shooting was some of the National Guards, like the regular army that was around that was shooting.
So these are basically a bunch of plainclothes soldiers. Is this a conflict between the actual army and civilians, or what kind of conflict are we looking at?
It was actually, I believe, it was Rwanda, the neighboring country, and the one that was coming to overtake Mobutu was, his name was Kabila, Laurent Désiré Kabila, and whose son is actually the president who doesn't want to leave power right now. So the guy took Rwandais, who are citizens from the other, like, militias from the neighboring country, to come over to our country to overthrow the guy who was in power, so that they could take power. And then I don't know what kind of deal they made, but those weren't Congolese. They were Rwandais. I don't know how you call them.
The Rwandan?
Yeah, okay. Rwanda people. So he took militias from there, brought them in to overthrow the president, the guy in power. So he used them. They weren't civilian. They were just militia and rebels. And actually, a lot of them were kids. Not kids showed like small kids, like kids pretty much my height, but you can see in his face that's a kid.
Yeah, it's a minor.
Yeah, it's a minor.
Yeah.
Who's carrying a gun. And they weren't shooting at that point. They weren't shooting at civilian, but they were blending in, trying to, again, use people as shields. So they weren't trying to kill them because they wouldn't have any protection, the kind of protection that they were looking for. So going up there, we saw my sisters and my aunt and my auntie. So we got off the bus. We started walking back down to Matadi to now go where everybody were going. And the funny thing was, as soon as we got off the bus, all of us hold hands, and then the serious stuff started. The regular army, like they sent back up and started shooting, and they didn't care. I don't know what was going on, because even the regular army didn't care who they were shooting at. They just started shooting. So we ran into a, how do we call it? Where when it rains, where water goes to, I don't know, a drain or whatever that is.
Like a sewer.
A sewer or something. Yeah. So sewers back home are not covered, so we just jumped into the thing and started running into the sewer, using a sewer as, protection pretty much. Started running into it until it stopped at some point. We got off the sewer, still people were shouting, shooting and everything. The funny thing was, I had to stop my mom because my mom was trying to get up, like, was running so fast that she was passing everybody. She was passing everybody, and I was like, Mom, you shouldn't do that, you should be in the middle, because they're shooting there. Right. So if they shoot, we're not trying to use like human shit, but still, yeah, I pulled my mom back to make her understand that, to make her understand that you shouldn't go up front, you should be in the middle and everything. And I actually don't know how I was thinking at that moment, but anyway, it felt like I was used to it at some point, because it hasn't been long and everything. And there were always stuff like that going on, either some regular soldier, military people who just started shooting or stuff like that. Nothing was right at that time. So right after we were able to run past the regular army, so we were kind of protected. And when we passed over, because there was a barrier at some point, so we passed it, we crossed the barrier, and then 10 to 15 minutes running after run, we run for 10 to 15 minutes, and then my dad came down. He had a pickup truck with a friend of his who was in the military, and by the time he to us, but as soon as he stopped, everybody jumped into the car. Like, the car was filled up, and we didn't have any space to sit and everything, and he had to pull out his friend's gun, threaten everybody and everything, so that some of them could get down, get us in, and we drove back to the capital. So, in the road, we had to pay some money to pass and everything to our own military to pass, but
so this is kind of a survival of the fittest situation, where you have to have a resource to get out. It's not going to be available to everybody, so you're going to have to compete for it, physically, financially, however you have to do it.
However you have to do it. And the thing, the funny thing, actually the chance that we had, the blessing that we had, was the fact that my dad was off the city, was in the capital. Because if he wasn't there, we would all be stuck in one city. So where he was at, he was able to contact one of his friends to come pick us up, because he had no car. He didn't have any car then. and he did. I mean, he couldn't have done anything. And at that time, we were using these. We didn't have cell phones. We were using these things that the military used today,
Like
the talkie
radios or
radio stuff. Yeah,
walkie-talkies.
and to do that, you had to set up a time to talk to the person who is in another city, and you have to show up to where those things were, and it was like 10 to 15 minutes away from her house. So you set up a time. He meets. I mean, he gets to the radio's place down there where he is, and we get to the radio where we are at the same time, so that we could communicate. So thank God it was. I mean, we just bless God because it was for him being in another city.
So that he could communicate with the influential
and
people.
Actually, and come down and get us.
Wow.
So I get into the car, driving back. I realized that, actually, while that was going on, while the war was going on, because we were driving by dead bodies, people who were crying because they lost a leg or some stuff like that, I wasn't actually shocked at that moment. I was just, felt, I don't know if it was the adrenaline or whatever that is. We just kept on driving. We drove until we got to where we were going. My dad's friends. We stayed there for pretty much 2 to 3 weeks. And when we got there, actually, 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, I didn't sleep that much because I couldn't. But 2 to 3 weeks after that, I started feeling the effects of that moment.
Like the adrenaline kind of wore off. It became real.
I started crying for no reason. I wasn't the only one actually. It was actually my sisters. The effects. They got hit by the shock right when it was happening. So they were crying, panicking, and everything. But I wasn't. My brother was just crying because my sister was crying. We were crying. Yeah. So he was just following it. But I wasn't because I don't know. I understood what was going on, but still, I believe it was the adrenaline and everything, or whatever that was. So it took me longer to actually feel it and start reacting to it. So I started just for no reason. I'd be sitting somewhere, I start crying. I would start crying for no reason. Or I was scared of literally anything, anybody, whatever that is. I couldn't get out for a long period of time. And my dad, to make us, to try to fix us pretty much, if I would say, or to heal us, he made sure that, he tried, after 2 to 3 weeks when we moved out from his friend's house, we slept in the same room, all of us, just to try to, because he noticed that I couldn't sleep on my own. I couldn't because I was scared. I was really scared. I would wake up shouting at night or whatever that is. So all of us started sleeping in the same room for a long period of time.
This is a new home now, or
a new home now,
okay,
in the capital,
right,
in a safer place. So there were no bullets there and everything. In Kinshasa. So we stayed there. We were there. My dad started talking to me. He wasn't hitting on me anymore like before because I was in trouble. I used to be a sick kid. I used to be sick all the time. I remember my dad used to take me to the capital to get treatment, and as soon as we get back, I'd get sick again. But I don't know how, but I was still a troublemaker. So I got educated a lot by my dad, if I should use that word. But every time before he correct me, he would tell me why he's doing it. So he let me know why he's doing it. Actually, he asked me why I think he's about to correct me. Yeah. As he said, I explained to him what I'm explaining to him. Of course, I'll be crying and everything, but still, he's gonna beat me up. And even the funny thing was when as we talked about last time, when he promises you, when I come back from work, I'm gonna beat you up.
Oh yeah, so, we have that in America.
So you think he's gonna forget? You try to be a great kid and everything, but no. When he comes back, he's gonna do it. That's just what he promised you to do. But then at that period, he stopped doing that. Even if I do something wrong, something not considered wrong, he wouldn't beat me up or whatever. He'd sit me down, talk to me like a grown up and everything. But at some point, he thought that I don't know. He thought that I had to grow up. That was, I remember I was about 11, because I was about 11. I was in primary because where I'm from, it goes primary 1, 2, 3 to 6. And then you start high school, which is secondary 1 to 6, and then you get into college. university and stuff like that. So I was in primary 5. I was getting to primary 5. My dad decided to send me to a boarding school because I had no older brother. So he wanted me to, I don't know, he wanted me to grow up or something like that because the way I was scared wasn't normal. I was scared of literally anything.
And compared to other kids at your school, had they gone through a similar experience, or were they coming from different backgrounds?
Actually, they came from different background because there were war everywhere. The war actually stopped where I was, and there are two corners of my country where up until now, on the in the east of the country, there's still war going on, rebels and everything.
Literally now.
Literally now.
Okay.
I mean, there are rebels. I mean, the rebels get in all the time, rape people, kill people, and everything. Yeah. And where I was from was pretty much the west of the country, I believe so. And on that side, it happens on that period because they have to overthrow. They have to overthrow the president in power at that time. So yeah, that was when war actually took place on that side of the country, but it didn't happen that much. It doesn't happen that much more often. So what was I? So yeah, he decided to send me to a boarding school. It takes me. I was excited about it. It was like I'm taking to a boarding school. I was excited about it. I was like, yeah, finally, I'm leaving home and everything. I'm leaving my sister because I was getting frustrated by them all like every time pretty much. So he takes me to the boarding school, leaves me there. As soon as he leaves, I see the car going away. I regretted it. I looked at myself and was like, no, that was a bad decision. I started crying.
Now, this wasn't your decision,
yeah,
was
this
it?
wasn't my
Not
decision.
at all.
It was
okay.
his. It was his decision. I was like, I regret the fact that I was happy about it. I don't like it. I don't like this place. And the place, just when he dropped me off, I looked around me and I knew that I wouldn't be happy there. I knew that right away. And he left. He was sad. He made a sad face. My mom cried. She cried she cries all the time. She's my mom. So they left, and I remember it was getting dark at that time because it was the time at the night. Because we used to take tea before going to bed around 6, and I remember it was about that time, and I started crying just like a kid because I was scared again. I started crying out loud and everything, and the director of the boarding school, because the boarding school was attached to the school. The school was outside. The boarding school was limited to only those who were living in the boarding school, and the school was kind of off the wall, so it was separated, but still in the same kind of lands, stuff like that. So the director of the boarding school only gets out, looks at me, laughs at me. He laughed at me. Like he sees it. I was crying out loud. He looks at me and laughs. He was like, they're gone now. You all alone. So get inside. I was like, okay. This thought well. I get inside anyway, heartbroken. I had to go drink my tea. If I should call it, I mean, they called it milk. It looked more like dirty water. Anyway, where to put sugar in. So I couldn't drink it anymore. I was too sad. I tried, but it didn't work. Anyway, I went to bed. The first night, I couldn't sleep because I was always stressed. I was scared of what was going on and everything. And the next day, that was when everything started. So the first language back home is French. And I grew up in a French-speaking house. And my dad traveled a little bit here and there. I mean, in Europe and stuff like that. So he speak what we call back home rich people French, which sounds like French people French speaking. I don't know how to say it.
Like Parisian
French.
French.
Yeah, like Parisian French. So, and other kids were in the boarding school. Most of them weren't speaking that kind of French. So they were pretty much taking me like the rich kid kind of guy or whatever, which I wasn't. I mean, I wasn't. At that time, we weren't poor either, but we were, from normal standing kind of living. And the next day, when some kids came and talked to me. They heard I couldn't speak Lingala right at that time because the other language, the educational language is French, and there are other dialects. Like Lingala is the main one, and I couldn't speak Lingala right at that time. I could understand it, speak some of it, but not really right. And just the fact that they noticed that I couldn't speak Lingala right, that was the first reason why they beat me up. I couldn't speak Lingala right.
The fellow students
beat you up. Yeah, they beat me up. Why were you speaking French as if you were, I don't know, what do you think? You better than us? That was the first day. They beat me up for that reason. The second, I remember, actually that was in the morning. In the afternoon, they beat me up again because I was wearing glasses. Oh. So I got bullied like for pretty much 6 months. Like I brought a spoon. I brought my mom bought me some sardines so that I can accompany it with some food that they cooked there, and everything was gone. They just took it from me.
Now, you told me about this spoon.
Yeah,
why were you bringing a spoon to school?
So the spoon was because when you have to eat, you have to bring your own spoon.
Oh, everybody does.
Everybody does.
Okay.
So you have to bring your own spoon, but the champion of the school, the stronger one or whatever, because you're supposed to be 11-ish, 12 when you're at primary 5, but most of those champion were around 16, 17.
The champion meaning
just like the stronger
the
one.
Royal Rumble winner in the School of Hard Knocks.
Exactly.
We call them the champion.
The champions of the school. That's how they actually literally call themselves.
Really?
Yeah. So you had to call them there. So anyway, they took my spoon, they took my flip-flops, and the funny thing was they took my flip-flop and the shower where we were supposed to shower. There were no grounds on it. The ground was pretty much sand. It was nasty. Sometimes kids used to poop there, and they took my flip flop. So to get into the shower, I had to walk barefooted in there. There's there are those things in Africa. We call them chic in French. They get into your toes, into the corner of your toes. They sit there and they start growing inside your toes. I had a lot of those because I wasn't taking enough showers, and I was walking barefooted all the time. Why? Because they took my flip flops and most of my shoes and my socks. And so like that. And the food was being we used to eat hot food, and I didn't have any spoon at that time because they took my spoon. So I had to eat with my hands for pretty much for as long as I've been there, which is 2 years.
And the school itself takes no responsibility for this. They're like, you're on your own.
They
this
don't
is
care,
how you
literally.
learn.
There was the guy, the director, was the one supposed to supervise the boarding school, and he leaves at 5. So from 5 to 7 in the morning, you're on your own. It was literally like when I watch movies of prisons here in America, it's pretty much similar or worse. Like I don't know, because if you're not that really careful, at some point you might get stabbed or something like that. It was pretty much, those kids were dangerous. I remember one day, this young kid who wasn't living in the boarding school came in and tried to make trouble. We beat him up. After beating him up, he went out, called his dad, who was a soldier or whatever that is. The dad comes into the school. Kids, primary school kids, beat a grown up.
They beat his dad up.
We beat him up because he tried to come into the boarding school to defend his kid. We beat him up. Kids were kids at the time. Just imagine, that was unbelievable. That's how possessed those kids. I mean, me included at that time. But that was,
it's mob mentality, basically. Yeah, everyone joins in.
Mm-hmm. So 4 months. Months went by. We were still being bullied and everything taken from me. I remember spending pretty much 2 weeks because bathrooms and everything was getting washed every 2 weeks, and for 2 weeks I couldn't get into the bathroom because it was just nasty, disgusting. It was the bending over kind of toilets.
You hover kind of, and there's just a hole in the ground.
On the ground. Yeah, you used to bend, go all the way down. And the funny thing was, at night, most people were going to take to the bathroom at night, and most of the time, since it was dark outside, they were, instead of getting to the stalls, they just poop on the hallway. So
why?
Actually, I don't know. I really don't know. I always wondered.
They just got tired of trying.
Oh yeah. So the funny thing was, we had to, when you get there, if you really had to go, you have to walk on the tippy toes
Yeah.
to walk through poop to get somewhere where there's no poop
Yeah.
to poop. So that's how bad it was. It was nasty, and we couldn't, like, the director literally threatened us from telling that to our from telling that to our parents, because before parents come and visit the boarding school, they had to warn the director, and when they warned the director, he get everything cleaned. And when parents come and get everything cleaned and make sure that every kid take a shower and wear the best
Just
clothes.
for the presentation. So these parents who send their kids to like an elite school get the image they need. Except for the one that got beat up.
Exactly. Exactly. At some point, that kids were so scared they couldn't tell anything to their parents. Nothing. Because I know for a fact, if my mom went in there and seen, even my dad, who was a strong, hard guy, but if he seen that, he would have taken me out of there.
What if you told your parents about it? What would happen to you?
My dad probably wouldn't have believed me there.
What would the school or their kids have done? Anything? Would that be a
that would have
fear?
been dangerous for me.
Okay.
Because that would have been dangerous. So I couldn't tell anything. I didn't see anything of what was going on. They would just come in. I was so happy to see them because every weekend they used to come, and I was so happy to see them that I forgot about anything. They bring me food and everything. As soon as I step in with that food to put it in my luggage or whatever, they just took it from me. So that would be gone.
Who? The other kids?
The other kids. They take it from me. Most of the other kids. I mean, they're grown up and everything. Because there was the head of like the director placed one of the kids in charge of other kids at night when he's not there. So it was the mob leader pretty much. So he takes whatever he wants. You have to pretty much ask for protection from him, from other kids. The one I say was like a prison. It literally was like a prison.
It sounds like it. We split into factions.
Exactly.
You have to have a loyalty to get protection.
Yeah. The only thing that was different was we were going to school in the morning. So that was the only safe time. When you go to school, it was the pretty much like the safe time. And after school, the thing was you have to come back to the boarding school. You couldn't stay out in school and everything because it was forbidden. If you're late to get into the boarding school, you get punished. Most of the time, beaten up.
So you're talking about getting from your residence quarters to the educational.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, the educational side of it. So 6 months has passed, and I got tired of it. I got tired of being beaten up. I got tired of being bullied and everything. There's this guy who came into me. I was frustrated on that day. I was tired. I don't know what was going on and everything. Anyway, that was the first day. My fear pretty much turned into something else. I don't know. That dude was about to beat me up. I was like, okay, this time if you touch me, I'll hit back. I was like, what? And he started beating me up. And I hit back actually. I mean, he still beat me up. But I hit back. So some respect was created at the time. And every time, whoever who came and tried to beat me up, I hit back. They kept on trying, but I kept on hitting back and everything. I had I dislocated my shoulder like twice or 3 times. I had bruises. I bled and everything. I almost had a hole in my head and stuff like that. Like just I had scars all over the place. And anyway, slowly, step by step, I created some respect. So people started leaving me alone because they just got tired. It wasn't fun for them anymore. But still, they kept on taking my food. Most of my foods, not all of it sometimes, because you had to pay pretty much it. I'll call it a tithe to the chief of the kids. And that was pretty much the first part of it. And as soon as I passed that stage of being bullied, I changed. Like I became just like them. I wasn't bullying any kids because I was standing up for that. I didn't like it, but I just became like behavior-wise, I became like them.
Do you think that you became something bad or something respectable?
Respectable to other kids in the boarding school.
Yeah.
But
I mean, obviously they respect bad in a certain way, but
exactly. What they respect there is bad. Actually, you have to be mean and bad to be respected. But as a kid, outside the boarding school, I was dangerous. Like I wasn't scared. Like my fear switched into like a complete opposite thing. I wasn't scared of nothing, nobody, and nothing pretty much. I hate snakes. Like that fear of snakes came back to me. But I remember killing a snake, 1 or 2 snakes back at the boarding school. Just like I took a bucket and I squeezed them with it. Like it was nothing. I remember we used to go get water in a source down the hill from the boarding school, and coming up, we seen a dead body. That body was rotting, and other kids were scared and everything, they panicked and everything. I looked at it, I jumped over it and passed by. They were like, "What's wrong with you?" and everything. That was a dead body, and the crying. I was like, "What?" I mean, just what I've been through now as a kid just kicked in, and I was like, "Why would you be scared of a dead body? He's dead. What is it gonna do to you?" But anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is interesting because, like, you obviously developed this toughness from what would be considered a traumatic experience. You were, like, hardened by it, but you've, it toughened you up, but it also changed you. It's obviously not a good thing that you had to suffer these things, but, do you think that school of hard knocks was in some way a good thing for you?
Yes, it actually was, because I actually learned to stand up for myself in that school, and I started boxing in that school. Actually, there was a coach who used to teach kids. He used to fight for some clubs around there, and I joined the club. I wasn't strong back then, but it just liked my toughness. I didn't give up at all.
Yeah.
I would get beaten up, like I would bleed the first day, because there when it's not the kind of boxing learning here that you get protected and everything. No, you put on a t-shirt, like it cuts off a t-shirt, you put on a hand, and you actually beat on the other kid. So I get beat up today, I come the next day, and so on, and I learn. I actually became kind of good in that, and he tried to. Sometimes he will try to teach us, like moves and everything on the table or something like that. Write them down. Try to teach you sensitive spots and everything. I mean, it was actually fun. It was actually, the funny thing was, yes, it was actually a good teacher, a good fighting teacher, because after I left the boarding school, I went to another city with my parents because my dad got another job in that city, Lubumbashi. I went to a regular boxing school, and my standard was already high compared to everybody in there. Most people in there. So it was actually good. So I learned to stand up for myself, and the funny thing was, as mean as I became, I actually didn't like seeing people being bullied, even inside the school, because I started fighting. I won't fight the guy who's bullying you, but I help you in a way to stand up for yourself. Just fight back and everything. And those who didn't understand, I slap. If you don't understand, I slap you or something. But the bad thing was, when I went home for breaks and everything, I became dangerous to my sisters and my brothers, because I remember there was this day that I was eating, and my sister just wanted to play. She was young and everything. She just wanted to play, and she started making noise, and I asked her to shut up. She didn't want to, and I had a knife and a fork on me. I threw the knife at her. I remember the reason why I threw the knife at her was to shut her up. Like, I didn't care where the knife would hit. That was dangerous. Like, every time, after a moment when I came back to myself, when I thought about it, I scared myself.
Yeah.
At some point.
You gave up control.
Yeah, thank moment. God she put it, like, it was going right for eye or something on her face, but she put her hand, and she got cut. She still has this scar on her hand.
Wow.
On her hand. And my dad came. He looked at me, and I wasn't scared of whatever it would do to me. And he actually got scared of that. He noticed that he was kind of losing me. That was in the second year. And he became a prayer stuff. My mom started praying for me, doing understanding what was going on, because people kept on saying that the boarding school was a good place to send his kid or whatever, whatever that was. So he wasn't really understanding what was going on. And the funny thing was, he actually left me there for not a full year, and I kept on becoming like. I remember my younger brother, the youngest boy that we have. Every time I stepped into the house, he just sees me and starts crying. Like, he was so scared of me that everybody was scared of me. I remember when I was young, I used to fight with my older sister. Just kid fighting, because she's, women, when you live with women, they fight for no reason. She just take the shoe threw it at me, and we stopped fighting, just like kids.
Mm-hmm.
But when I came back from the boarding school, we weren't fighting anymore. I was beating them up. If you try something like that, if they try anything like that with me, literally, the three of them will come at me, and I put them all together and beat them up.
So you were kind of in this position in life where your power was not matched by your sense of responsibility.
Exactly.
You had this strength that was kind of only tested in a really brutal environment.
Mm-hmm. And my dad, since I was a kid, tried to, if I get into a fight, even if my sister was wrong, he would beat me up. And every time repeat to me, you never ever raise your hands on a sister or whatever that is. But after that, he would punish me and talk to me. Because, I don't know, he was pretty much trying to take off that idea of responding with violence off my head and everything. I mean, it worked after a long time.
Yeah.
After a long time. So it was patient. He kept on being patient. You could see the hurt on his face, but he was really patient with me. Most of the time back home, when a kid acts like that, what they do, they send it to someone who can control them.
Right.
My dad did not, he didn't even think about that idea. He decided, there was no way that he would send me to anybody else.
And in that situation, you have to imagine a lot of kids would have been met with punishment, and maybe in the end they wouldn't have been as resilient as you because they would just feel like they were stuck in a no-win situation.
Even outside those grown up who used to beat me up for no reason, when I go up and you try something, I get into a fight with you. And I almost got this guy who fought with me almost lost his eye, and they came into the house. They talked to my dad and everything. My dad had to pay money and all those stuff. And slowly I started realizing that, because when I get into a fight outside, if you don't bleed, I won't stop, because I didn't know. To me, if you don't bleed, you're not hurt. So, and when I get into a fight with you, you have to be hurt before I let you go. And I learned how to fight. I knew how to resist, how to take a punch. I could take a punch. And most of the time, kids at that time, they take a serious punch, they run away. If I take 5 serious punches, I keep on coming at you. And that was the problem at that time. Not only I was dangerous, not only I had the mentality of someone who wasn't cared anymore, but I actually knew how to defend myself. Yeah. And that became kind of dangerous. And the time that I noticed that, I was actually losing my mind, that was after secondary 6, the year was over, I went back home. And during that period, I remember I got into a fight, and my mom seen me fight. Actually, there was this guy who was threatening my brother. I came out, and the guy was pretty much, wrestling my brother and stuff like that, my younger brother. I didn't ask any question. I just jumped on the guy and started beating him up. And my mom came out. She didn't know what to do. I mean, she took us home, and she started crying. Really out loud. She didn't know what to do anymore. And while crying, of course, she was crying and praying, putting her hand on me and crying, praying and crying and everything. And I don't know. I just sat down, and every time I step into the house, everybody was just. I became pretty much my dad in some way. My old dad, yeah. I'll come into the house, everybody don't want to be around me, because there was some time where I just want to be around my brothers and sisters, because we didn't have much when we were kids, but we're fine. We've been around each other telling stories, and we didn't have electricity, much to eat, because at some point my dad, instead of going to work to get money home, they go to work to get us food, because we didn't eat the entire day, because of a lot going on. And so I realized that I was losing myself and losing my family. I don't know what. Anyway, something clicked, and I actually decided that I had to change, because what was going on wasn't normal at all. And my dad noticed that I was trying to change, so he took me out of that environment. He tried to get a job. It was a project out of the city, away from the city actually, in the Lubumbashi, in the south of the country. So we go to Lubumbashi. He did 2 loads with the kids. So I was the first load, me and my sister, and the other kids came afterwards. When I moved there, then the environment was kind of sane. They put me into a better school, and I had to redo that year actually, because my grades weren't that good when I went there. And that school actually helped me a lot. I went into a school where nobody knew me, so I didn't have to prove anything to anybody. I was a quiet kid, but just looking at other kids, trying to learn from them, and the need to change that was in me actually helped me changing that fast. And as soon as I started changing, as soon as my sisters noticed that I wanted to change, they started helping me. Like they would laugh for no reason, even if they're upset at me. They try to react like my dad used to. My mom, the only reaction she had was crying, crying and praying. Like she could not see a son actually becoming what I was becoming. We didn't used to curse in my house. I was the first one who started cursing in my house. I would insult people like nobody would. My mom would go crazy about that. My mom actually kept on slapping me during that period. She didn't stop. She kept on slapping me.
I mean, she had to know it was kind of futile against you. She was just hoping it would slap some sense
Exactly,
in you,
yeah.
kind of. But you said you started to realize that you needed to change.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of didn't have control of yourself, or were you successful? And did you find some kind of outlet to change?
Actually, boxing was the outlet.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you found the discipline.
Exactly, discipline. So when I started boxing in Lumumbashi, after they noticed that I had a level a little bit higher, they put me older kids. That was when I was about 13. They put me older kids in the club or whatever that is, whatever that was. And there, I couldn't be the strong guy anymore because every kid in there knew how to fight. So if you get into a fight, they will beat you up from start to finish.
Yeah.
Actually, you won't be able to respond in any way possible. So I actually noticed that it would be wise to actually avoid fights, fighting with some kids in there, because someone would say something wrong to me, I would fight them, and they would actually beat me up. Like Mike Tyson beat up people. Like they would beat you,
Yeah.
beat you up to the point that they knock you out, and they leave you there, and they keep on going with their day. And sometimes, since my the coach knew my dad, but my mom, I actually for the first few years, I believe my dad didn't even know that I used to box. I used to skip from. I was boxing and playing basketball. So I was actually telling them that I'm going to play basketball, but I was going boxing because
So you found it yourself.
exactly, exactly. I was just came from school just to do that. So I was funny with it, and I grew up loving it, and slowly but wisely, I started making friends who I was training, and I pretty much I didn't switch back to where I was again. I balanced everything. So I started smiling more, talking to people a little bit more, hanging out with people a bit more, and dating a lot and everything. And it changed me in some way. And praying more, a little bit more. Because my mom used to take me, she's part of the full gospel back home there. So she started taking me to prayers pretty much every Wednesday and Saturday. Every single time. I got tired of it, but yeah, she was taking me anyway. I didn't have any choice.
And did that make sense to you, or was that just kind of something you felt like you were inheriting from her?
It actually made sense because ever since I was a kid, at 7 o'clock, we had to have a family prayer. So that's actually how I knew that. I knew that God existed. I knew that we have to pray because my dad said so. But when I started growing up, I actually noticed that what my mom used to say when I was a kid, like we live by the grace, pray before you do anything. Like she used to pray for just to get us into that habit of praying every time. Before she gives out a shower, we take a shower. She'll pray for the water, and then give her a shower and everything.
She's a prayer bender.
That's exactly. And the funny thing about it is those prayers actually held our family up, pretty much about a lot of things. Like I became a believer. Like I believe that I started thinking actually, I had 7 siblings then, and most of those most people that I know lost somebody during those wars. I didn't lose anybody. All of us, all 8 kids, are alive and well now.
That is amazing.
So that is amazing. That to me, that is God. So me and my family, that's actually God. So it's and not besides being alive, we are well. We don't have any staying trauma of that moment. So we're living, and other people actually lost their mind. Other people killed themselves and stuff like that.
That's the most incredible thing about you is you're so resilient. It's kind of unbelievable that you have this story.
That was pretty much the thing. So yeah, I started praying more and fighting more. Of course, I didn't have a personal relationship with God as of now because yeah, I was a kid. I was a young high school kid, so I was living life pretty much girls and friends, and I didn't actually touch alcohol because I didn't like it that much. And yeah, and boxing now fighting wasn't like I actually learned to walk away from fight because there were sanctions in the academy that I was training at. If you fight outside for no like you have to have proof that the person you could not escape that fight.
Yeah.
So proof pretty much human being around you.
One thing you've told me that like just having become a skilled fighter sort of helps you to step away from the reactionary sort of petty fight because you know exactly what you're capable of. You have no need to prove yourself in that situation.
Exactly. That was exactly what was happening because there were some people who they just came to you to look for most stuff that got me into fight or almost got me into fight was women. Girls at the time. Yeah, girls I was dating and whatever the ex or
guys fighting over
girls,
girls.
Yeah. Or something like that would come to me and be like, "Why are you dating that girl?" I was like, "Because I hit on her," and she said, "Yes." what do you want? And they tried to fight me for that. And I look at the guy. I literally see that I can hurt the guy. So why do it? I just walk away from it. Or I just talk him out of it. I'll be okay. What do you want me to do? Do you want to negotiate about it? Do you want to talk about it? Or something? What do you want? And weirdly, people laughed about it. And the funny thing is, actually, we became friends with most of those guys. I started creating relationships with most of my exes didn't like because I was becoming friends with their exes. They didn't like that much because I'll make a joke or something like that. Just talk to me. What do you want? Do you want me to let her go or something? I'll let her go if you want. I won't do it, but I'll just tell to create a conversation and stuff like that. And people started liking me around. Like in my neighborhood, everybody knew me. Almost everybody knew me. I mean, every kid my age knew me. And yeah, relationships started growing, and now I didn't focus much in school, but I was passing classes. My brothers and sisters were used to like out of 100%, which was how we were graded at the end of the year. They bring 80. I have awesome, like smart, awesome siblings. They bring 90%, 85, 88, which was never enough for my dad. I remember my brother brought a 97 at the end of the year, a 97% at home. My dad looked at it, was like, "Congratulations, you can do better." I was like, "That really?" The kid brings you 97%. That 3% was probably the fact that he couldn't have 100 because nobody does that. And you say he could do better? I was like, just let that be.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do anymore. But I was the kid who was bringing home, with 55, 60, as long as I pass, I'm fine. And my dad just got tired of me. He was like, okay, and as long as he passes, he's fine. I didn't care about it because at that time I thought I was studying for my parents. That was in school because my parents was pushing me to go to school. I realized that I was actually studying, learning for my life when I left home after high school, when I went to India to do my undergrad.
And that was completely your own decision try a completely new country.
Yeah, actually, my dad told me when I was taking my how do you call it, my diploma test or whatever in high school, the thing that you
like
take,
an SAT sort of thing.
Yeah, at the end of high school. My dad told me if you have 160, you're not going abroad. If you have 60 or more, I'm sending you abroad to do your college. I was like, okay, it's a bet then. I studied and I got 61.
Sliding on by.
Just 61. And I was like, "Dad, you said it's above 60, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I said that." "Okay, choose a place then." It was my options were Canada, one country in Africa. I didn't want to stay in Africa anyway, and India. I took India because I wanted to learn. Like I started growing up and I wanted to learn more. I wanted to learn English. I wanted to learn other cultures and everything. And I went and do my undergrad in India, which is not a story again.
Yeah, because that's a huge cultural transition.
That was a huge one because actually I had to learn to be patient down there because it was a cultural shock. Everything was different. Like to say the small one was to say yes, we nod our head back and up and down.
Yeah.
The say yes, nodding left and right, shaking their head next to left and right. I was like, what's going on? So that was a problem. And they shout all the time. When they're talking to you, they shout. I was like, why are you shouting at me? Calm down. What's wrong? What did I do? Or something like that. Or they were just talking to me. They throw stuff at people all the time. When you're buying something, I hand you over my money, but you're throwing the thing to me. I was like, what is wrong with you, dude? Be polite. Hand it over to me or something like that.
Polite is not universal.
No, it wasn't universal. And the guy, for the first time, I'll go to church. I'll see a police truck parked outside to protect the Christian church because it was dangerous to pray, to just live in there praying because of 5,000 gods down there and a lot of religions or whatever. That's so it was different to me. And for the first time, the funny thing was, since I'm black, they're black Indian, even darker than I am. But they were looking at me weird. Like they were calling they call black people Kalu there, pretty much monkey. And there's this guy darker than I was. He was calling me monkey, and I was, dude, you are darker than I, and you actually look more monkey than I do. Seriously, what's wrong with you? I mean, stuff like that. And I remember the funny thing. I mean, there were some funny, upsetting things. Like I'll get into it, the train, and this kid was crying. And it was with his dad. The dad was trying to calm him down. To calm the kid down, he took the kid over to me, and show the kid my hair. Asking the kid, hey, look at his hair. Touch his hair. To calm him down. I look at the guy and I was like, if that kid touch me, I'll slap your face so hard. Wow. You get off this train.
You gotta have a thick skin to survive.
That was incredible.
Wow.
Like, Indians can bring you to the tip of your
it's a good thing you had exactly as much discipline as you had developed.
Exactly. So you had to learn to calm yourself down as much as possible, like laugh at a lot of things that was going on in there down there, and just move on. Actually, I stopped taking train or the bus or any public stuff. I'll just take, since transportation was kind of cheap down there, it was easier. And I did my degree, and I actually wanted to honor my parents, so I did good at school, really good at school. And for the first time when I brought my degree to my dad, he almost cried. That was amazing.
Yeah.
My dad is the hero that I have. I'm trying to let him know that before we grow too old or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Make him understand that because most of the time people just believe that it's normal. That's what a dad does. But no, it's not. They got someone who helps you through what we've been through, that just a strong hero, someone strong.
It sounds like he really knew that you were fighting against it from an early age, that you'd been through something unusual, you had an uphill battle, and he kept his strong demeanor, and he pushed you to be your very best in every way.
Exactly. If he didn't have that strong demeanor, I would have been lost right now.
Yeah.
Actually. And he made mistakes, but like every human,
everyone does.
Even those mistakes actually helped me through becoming who I am right now. And after India was a long story. I remember school was tough, of course, it's school, and I still did good, but there were some things that were going on down there, which was just hard for an African to live, because Indians are beautiful women. And I wanted to learn English so bad that I had my phone first of all and Google Translate every word I see on the wall or something, that I type and translate it and understand, hear the pronunciation, and repeat it, try to put it into a word. And the best thing to me was to try to date someone who speaks English, so that there would be a regular conversation.
Can I just ask, up to this point, was your only way to communicate through French or through these Google Translate apps?
Google Translate pretty much.
Was the only way you could talk to anyone?
Yeah. I remember when I got there, I joined a English center to learn how to speak pretty much. And at school, I used to do grammar.
Okay, so you had a little bit of English background.
Yeah. So every day, in the morning, I'll go to school, do the grammar, English part and everything. And in the evening, I'll go do the speaking part. So that was pretty much in the beginning. And it was still hard to speak to somebody. So I decided to date an Indian who was speaking English, because it's not really English like in India. It's kind of English. Anyway, you can understand each other. When you talk to them, you can understand what they're saying. And there's this girl who liked me. I liked her. We started dating. And then since she couldn't introduce me to her family because of those betrothed marriage kind of stuff, it was kind of complicated. And I remember she had to get married to somebody that's a dad fine for her, and she wanted us to run away. I couldn't run away. I was like, no, I have a life. I can't just run away because your dad arranged a marriage for you and stuff like that. She, I don't know, she brought friends or whatever to try to fight me or stuff like that. I was like, what kind, like, just to say that the culture was deep. I was like, what kind of thinking is that? You want us to run away? I
said she wanted to force you into a marriage.
Exactly, that was what were you trying to do? Force me into it? I was like, what the heck? Anyway, we moved on. I was like, if you try anything, I'll sue you. And like, try anything and you see what I can do. Anyway, that moved on. I kept on trying. I actually had tried to develop some friendship with people who could speak English and everything, because I was in an American university. It was supposed to be an extension of an American university. So I spoke a lot of English, kind of. But I still surrounded myself with most of people from the same background as I am. So which didn't help that much. So we're speaking a lot of French, and it didn't help as much as it should. Because I remember the first exam that I took, there were 20 questions. I couldn't answer none of it. Because I thought that since I could speak a little bit. I would answer the exam, and I started classes. Actually, right after that, and the first exam was awful. I read the first question, I couldn't understand it. I went to the second, same, third, fourth, like I couldn't understand nothing. Thank God there was a friend of mine who was from Nigeria right beside me. He looked at me and like felt pity for the poor man that I was, and just switched papers.
After he'd finished his.
After he finished his. I was like, God bless you. And then I noticed that I had to put more effort in it. Anyway, everything, right after that class, everything became better and better. And actually, I was supposed to do IT in India, but I just felt a passion for business. And the first business class that I took, I just felt home. I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I have to do. And I did my BBA in management, and that was it. I mean, after that, I went back home for a few months, 5 months pretty much, worked a little bit down there, and came here for my master's. And when I got here, it was another story again, because I thought I spoke English until I got here. I noticed that I didn't know much of English because I couldn't understand anybody. Everybody was talking around me. I remember at the airport, the immigration parts of the airport, there were 2 black women there that I had to show my passport, my I-20 and everything, every paper that I had to show. And she sent me to another woman. She pointed to a woman and she was like, go. The way she was talking was just not I mean, the British kind of English, like articulating thing, I could understand it. But the African American was another level for me now. Like the culture, they swallowing too much words kind of thing. That was another level. Like she was sending me to, now that I think about it, I think it was Simone. But I heard Shannon. She was like, ask Shannon. I was like, what? Ask Shannon. So she pointed the person. I was like, try to understand that. Okay, go ask the person. So I walked to the person who wasn't Simone actually. I asked, she sent me to Simone. I mean, I had to do a lot of gestures so that she could understand me because I couldn't speak much. And the woman was, Shannon's gone. I was like, what? Shannon's gone. Now I know that it was Simone is gone. But to me, it was sounding, Shannon's gone. I was like, okay, I'll report exactly what she said to the woman. So I walked to the woman. I was like, Shannon's gone. So that was awful. I was like, oh, Shannon's gone. Wait. I was like, Shannon's gone. What dialect is this? I think
a lot of American-born people forget that there are many English accents that are really tough for a non-native speaker to understand.
Snan's gone where? What is where mean? Which was now Simone is gone where? I was like, well, how would I know? I don't understand what you're saying. And she was like, okay, all right. She filled the papers and she gave it to me. Anyway, I moved on and I actually loved America for the first time. And it was awesome. An awesome experience. I read a lot of questions that made me question how much I like this place. But it was a good place because when I got here, I noticed that it's filled with smart people, but who didn't travel enough to understand what's going on outside
Right.
the United States.
Insulated people.
Yes, exactly. A little bit ignorant on that side, like the traveling side and everything. Because even when I got to Liberty, I remember this guy asked me where I was from due to my accent, and I told him Congo. He was like, Congo? Where is that? I said Africa. Oh, so you're from Africa? Yes, I'm from Congo, but Africa. In Africa, which is in Africa. Oh, so that's Africa. I was like, no. The way he was saying it, I understood that. I actually thought Africa was a country. I was like, no, it's Congo, which is located in Africa. Oh, yes. I was like, okay, yeah. So, and the other thing he added was, oh, so a lot of trees and everything. It was funny. I mean, I appreciated the fact that they actually honest with the questions. He wasn't trying to insult me. I
Right.
could see that in the face and the way they talk.
You have to be honest to ask an ignorant question.
Exactly. It was like, oh, so how is it living in the trees and everything? I was like, oh my God, do you even watch movies? I looked at him. I was like, just look at me. Do I look like someone who lived in a tree? Seriously, man? Really? How did that happen? I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I was like, I understand. No, I didn't live in a tree or whatever.
Yeah, you got to blame our
They said-
education
yeah.
system.
Another one was like, when he asked me where I was from, I said from Africa, Congo. I was like, oh my God, how did you come here? How did you get here? I was like, I swam. And she was serious. Like she was, people still do that? I was like, yeah, they still do. People still do it.
She's thinking what? That you can't just get on
I just ran, like swim. I was like, seriously?
that.
And at some point, like I was like, I felt like she was going too far. I was like, no, I took a plane. Plane lands where I'm from, there's an airport and everything. So I took a plane. And Walmart one day, this woman asked me where I was from again. So from Congo, the same reaction was, okay, next time you go back home, when you come back here, please bring me a gorilla. Well, of course.
That is stupid
I
as
just,
well.
Just pick up a gorilla in the road and put it in my shoulders and bring it to you. Get into the plane.
So we don't know anything about geography, cultures, or basic zoology.
It became funny to me at some point. I was like, okay, what's gonna come next? And the other one actually thought I used to run with lions. I was like, he was like, oh, okay, I heard about something that Congolese run. I knew about Congo. That was a shock for me. I was like, oh, you knew about Congo? Okay. I heard and where it killed me was when he said Congolese run with lions, like lions just run all over. I was like, dude, I believe that I'm pretty much more scared of a lion than you are. Because I've noticed that most Americans are not scared of anything.
Yeah.
Just look at stuff and they want to touch it. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that I'm more scared of a lion than you are, actually. No.
Because you know what a lion is.
Yeah, I know what a lion is. I don't run with lions. No, I run from lions. It's actually, they don't live in the city or whatever. So at some point I was like, my answer was to everything was pretty much try to go to Africa. I did ELI for English classes before I started classes. So I made sure that I did a presentation about my country, Congo, Africa, and all the other 52 or 3 other countries in Africa to make people understand that. Because actually a lot of people, not only Americans, even Chinese. And the funny thing is, there are a lot of Chinese trying to build businesses back home there, back in my country. And a lot of them didn't know that there was difference between Congo and Africa. So many presentation educated some. And I was proud about the fact that because a lot of them were like, oh, okay, that's true. Yes, it is true. So it's different. There are 52 or 3 countries in Africa. So it's a big place. And yeah, I've heard a lot of funny stuff.
So what exactly brought you to Liberty University? Was that the first place you came in the United States?
No, that wasn't. Actually, a friend of mine told me about it. And the fact that when I actually looked at it, I talked to the friend again. He was here before me. And I talked to him. He was like, the city's quiet and everything, and I needed some quietness in my life. And the best thing that was that I mean, the other thing that I liked about it most was the fact that it was a Christian university. And I mean, I know, I know that sometimes Christian can be worse than what people consider to be pagan or whatever, or unbelievers or whatever. So I didn't really come here because it was a Christian named university, but just because I heard that the place was quiet, and I've been in too much noise. Every, Everywhere I've been was big cities, a lot of noise, good and bad. So, and after my country, I went to India, which was I was in New Delhi, which is worse.
It's bustling.
So that's something else. So when I heard it was located in a quiet, peaceful city, I was like, I'm going there. I'm going there. And I was actually when I heard that. I mean, when I learned that American have the right to carry guns, I actually started looking at states that has a lot of people who carry guns. Lynchburg has, but since it was a quiet place, I just started to come here compared to other cities where they were more like people were actually showing off. What did I looked at this website where people blog about. I don't remember the name of it, but people blog about people who have been in America blog about it goes back home blog about how it was. People who have been in Atlanta, LA.
You're talking about this is like reports from Congolese
From
people
Congolese
about
people
their
who've been
American
here,
experience.
and
Okay.
stuff like that, yeah. And stuff that they've experienced in America, and most of them. I mean, I've heard nothing about Lynchburg and weapons and stuff like that. Or if they have weapons, they don't show it that much or whatever that is. And yeah, I just decided, yeah, I was like, this sounds like a quiet place and not really crowded, because when I knew that Washington DC was already way too crowded, and one of the main thing that which pleased my dad was the fact that because he had to help me with tuition, it was cheaper compared to a lot of university actually. That was to my dad. That was the only thing that I want to hear, because I had to work. We separated tasks. What he told me was when I was going for undergrad. He said he actually most of the time he just throw the feet at me, like throw challenges at me, like the thing I told you about having 60% you go abroad. And after I was done with my undergrad, it was like, okay, when I started my undergrad actually, he said, okay, if you finish undergrad before 4 years, you go wherever you want. You do a master's and you go wherever you want. I finished my undergrad in 3 years and a half. I was like, okay, choose the country. Of course, after India, obviously I was going to choose America, United States. So I was like, yeah, I'm going there. I was like, okay. And he agreed. And we looked at, I mean, I wanted to help him out too a little bit, because I worked and we separated the task. I would pay for some of my living expenses and pay for school. So we did that. And at some point, I actually paid for everything. At some point anyway. He helped a lot. And I came in. That was few of the main reasons why I decided to come here. And after coming here, when I decided to travel in a few cities, I actually noticed that I didn't make that bad of a choice, because when I went to I actually thought DC was crowded until I went to New York. I cannot live in New York.
Yeah, only New Yorkers can live in New York.
Yeah, I cannot live in that city. That was stressful. Like I spent few hours in New York. I was I was stressed. That was crazy. No. I could not. No, I left and I went to DC and I was like, this is paradise, because I thought DC was crowded until I went to New York. Mm-hmm. Compared to New York, this is awesome. And when I got here, I mean, it's a boring city. Mostly when students are not around, it's like dead zones, but it's peaceful.
It's the kind of quiet you were looking for.
The kind of quiet I was actually looking for. I mean, I don't mind moving around to bigger cities for a break or whatever, but yeah, coming back here is best. It's great. Even when my parents come here to visit me, they actually enjoy it. They enjoy the peacefulness, and that's just how how crowded where I'm from is.
Yeah.
And yeah, pretty much shaken or whatever that is.
Were any other American cities a surprise to you?
Beside New York, no, pretty much no, not really.
But you traveled around a bit, got some different
Yeah,
experiences for sure.
I've been to North Carolina, pretty much every city that goes from here to DC, so which is Richmond, um, Charlottesville, and all others. And
Okay,
stuff
so
like
you've
that.
been across the divide, kind of from the
Yeah.
Bible Belt to
Exactly,
to,
because I decided to every time
more other
I took a road trip, I decided to stop in some big cities. I mean, considerably big cities. I stopped and visited around and looked around and everything. And yeah, most of them, the thing that I grew a little bit tired of was every building pretty much looked the same. I was like, dude, bring some ingenuity, whatever that is. I mean, I haven't been in LA's and places like that, so well, I've been. Most stuff looks big, but I was impressed by supermarkets too, like Walmart's. When I got into Walmart for the first time, I was super impressed. There's nothing like that where I'm from. Even in India, I've never been in something like that actually.
yeah. Walmart
Wait.
runs this country.
When you, where you find everything, you get into one place, and you can stay there hours and try to find everything you want, pretty much, from car parts to
We take
food.
that for granted,
What
but
it-
it is
Exactly,
amazing.
it
That's
is
like
amazing.
a feat of
It is amazing.
engineering.
That's why most of the time a lot of stuff that I hear, I see most American themselves take it for granted. But when you look at where I'm from, because I got to the point where, I mean, here a bottle of water, I mean, a pack of bottled water is $1, so people don't care much about it. I know the value of water just because at some point in my life I did not have water. I remember when I was in the boarding school, I wear the the tap of water. The water was barely coming out, and the director was getting the water out when parents was coming in, so that we could take showers and everything. So to drink water, someone when you're thirsty, I had to suck into the tap to pretty much when you suck hard enough, something that like water can come out and drink off of it. And imagine 150 kids sucking off of that thing to get water to drink water. So that was crazy. So going through stuff like that, I actually picked on how important small stuff are.
Yeah.
Like just easy, like small stuff like water, small stuff like electricity. Like as long as you pay for it, you have it. So stuff like that. Back home, whether you pay for it or not, you not guaranteed to have it. So stuff like that. Roads, you can drive everywhere here. Back home, there are places that you can drive, and roads even in the city are crazy. So they're just stuff that you learn to get comfortable with. And when you leave Africa to come here, or Congo, where I'm from, to come here, it clicks something into your mind, like in a lot of stuff, business wise and um, intellectually, socially, and stuff like that. You just develop something else, something different. Like you want to do bigger, which is what I actually loved about being in this country. Like people want more than regular, and yeah, they don't limit themselves to what they have. You can actually do something, and I don't know, get whatever effort you put into something, you can pay at some point.
Yeah.
So that's what I like. Back home, as much as I love my country, it's not evident that you will, and the government most of the time suffocates small, ideas, big ideas or whatever that is.
So to you, it's the feeling that there is no limit to what you can achieve that
Exactly.
that will push you to be the best you can be when you have the opportunity.
Exactly. And those kind of stuff, I believe, a lot of people here. I noticed that a lot of people here take it for granted. Just the fact that you can find a job at 16, 17 years old, even if it's at McDonald's. That's a blessing. When I told my sister when I started this job here as a custodian, when I started this job while studying, and I told my mom that every 2 weeks, my sister, every 2 weeks I make $600. They almost went nuts because in a bank back home, a regular person in the bank make $300 to $400 in the bank. Someone working in the bank, which is considered to be a respectable entity or whatever. So stuff like that, most of the time, you learn to appreciate most of the stuff. And when I see other, at some point, I had a friend, an American, he used to complain a lot about the government. I hate. I remember at some point he said, "I hate this country." I was like, "What? Why do you hate this country?" He was going to Liberty. He had a scholarship. He had everything paid for, and the school was actually giving him some money on top for living. And he was complaining, "I hate it. I hate it." I was like, "Wait, you hate it? Why exactly? Try to explain. Try to make me understand." And it was like, they don't do stuff right, and I think he was trying to he was upset about, I guess it was racism or something like that. Like a white guy called the black guy monkey or whatever. I was like, dude, those are just mean people. There are people. That's why there are words that exist for some people. You call him racist or whatever, or a mean guy, or whatever that is. That's not why you should hate your country. That's not a reason for you to say that you don't like an entire entity because someone insulted someone. We insult each other between us, black people.
Yeah.
I call some, some black people call that black people monkeys. That's an insult. That's just people. That's who they are. So
well, it is kind of a privilege that we have to be able to focus on maybe isolated circumstances and seriously concern ourselves with whether or not they might become systemic and kind of freak out about it a little bit. But then you take that to the level of saying, "I hate this country." Well, now you're way outside your bounds.
Exactly. Like that was a bit too much. And I heard I had this country, I had the school, and I was like, okay, let's talk about the school first. This school want to do a scholarship so that you can study all through your undergrad or whatever that was. And the country, because he had some scholarship from Virginia, just from being living in Virginia and stuff like that, from high school and stuff like that. And the states gave a lot of scholarship everywhere. And I was like, these things that you're getting here, you know how many people are looking for it where I'm from? Like, there's not a chance that the state can give you a scholarship. There's not a chance that the university can give you that chance to do your to do college. You get it here for free, and the state pretty much gives you money. Even stuff like tax return. People say, "I deserve it" or whatever. Yes, you work hard, you deserve it. I don't mind. But just get to the point where you appreciate it a little bit.
Right. They're literally speaking, taking the system for granted.
Yes, exactly. Because they didn't have to do it at some point. They know how to work people in a way that they can take it away.
Someone can abuse their power.
Exactly, can abuse their power
when they have it.
We see it back where I'm from. So at some point, get to appreciate what you have and stop taking some stuff for granted and just love what you have. Like, you have more than what people beg for where I'm from. Way more than that. And just respect it. Love it. I don't trust the actual president, which is Donald Trump, but I respect him. Because to me, Christian that I am, I believe that God is the one who put him in power. But just being where he is, I respect his decisions. If he makes a decision, I won't be okay with it because since I'm an immigrant, it might hurt me. I won't be fine. I might not be fine with it, but still, I respect who he is because most of the time, what you notice is people from this country want what's good. They want the country to move forward. What's good for the country most of the time. They might go about it the wrong way, but the intention is most of the time good. Back where I'm from, the government want to have money for their own. They want to make their family rich. Keep on moving on. They don't care about others, whatever that is. So just looking at all those stuff and try to understand it just teaches you a lot. That's why now that I'm married to an American, we get an agreement. I said, okay, just to make our kids understand what life is like, I want them to spend a part of life back to Africa. I want them to understand, like, to experience both sides, just to understand what, other people don't and what they have and can have and other can't have. Just to appreciate life a little bit more.
Yeah.
So like that, because when I look at some people, stuff that people complain about here, just like, dude, okay, I won't even talk about it. That's just crazy. Like, it is crazy. Like, they just find something to complain. And a lot of things is a bit too serious. Like, I have Like there's some conversation that you have to really think about. When I came here, I felt like talking, okay, about racism. I don't mind talking with about racism with like I don't mind my white friend to come ask me if something that you could say would offend a black person. I don't mind it. But most of them are scared to ask me that because they think that I will be offended.
But they have no problem putting out their own opinions
Exactly.
without running it by you.
So I don't get it. Like I just don't understand that. Or when I see stuff like what is that some conversation that I consider to be hot topics or whatever that is that nobody want to talk about. You just look at everybody because you don't want to offend somebody. That's why it feels like it's great to be old here or a kid because you can actually say whatever you think about or the way you feel it.
Yeah, we young people have the luxury of picking the shots we want to take.
Exactly, because there's a lot of like limitation about what you want to talk about here or whatever because people are easily offended, really easily offended. That it's impressive. And
Yeah, well, we need our victimhood status.
and you can easily get sued here. That's another problem too. Like you get sued for anything.
Very
really.
litigious.
Anything, and go to prison for it. I was like, oh my god, okay, I have to watch what I talk about here, and that was actually scary for me. And another thing, which was hitting on women, it's crazy how that frustrated me. I'm the kind of person back where I'm from. If you want to talk to a woman, you see a woman passing by, you chase her, literally. You run after her, you put up our hand, she's doing it right. If she doesn't like you, she slaps you, you keep on leaving. Okay, everybody, we boo at you and they won't keeps on moving or whatever. If she likes you, she stops and you have a conversation and, life goes on. Here you dare look at a woman the wrong way, you have a problem. They sue you for sexual harassment or whatever.
But now you could see where the concern might come from chasing someone, literally physically chasing someone.
So there's some. I understand that there've been rough history in this country, but I need people to understand. Yes, they're dangerous people, sometimes because if I see someone weird that I can consider weird, or someone covered, someone that I can't see the face running towards me, I tend to cross away, like to avoid any issues or whatever. But at some point, you need to understand. And the funny thing about the women stuff is a lot of women are complaining that they can't get married or all men are alike or men are not talking to them right away. Well, you're not giving them. When I got here, I got scared, like because when I got here, actually, I was excited to date Americans. I was going for it. And there was some point when one of my cousins, who's been here for a long time, was like, I don't mind you talking to women. Just avoid talking to them too much. I was like, what do you mean? Avoid like some of them might take it the wrong way and sue you. I was like, oh, okay, all right. Then I restrained it until I met my wife, which was kind of different, and another long story too. So I learned that it's different, and there is a sort of a lot of people here are scared in some way. Something scares them. Difference scare them. Pressure scares everybody, but mostly difference. What they think is different, most of the time scares them, and most of the time they pass by the beauty that they have here because there's everything here. Every culture pretty much is here. You can learn about everything in the world just in one country, which is this one. And most of the time people don't realize that you have everybody from any country and culture in this country, and people are scared to get to each other, whatever that is, or to learn from it, or stuff like that.
Yeah, I think people don't want to discover how different someone else is because it might kind of illegitimize their own concerns a little bit.
So yeah, that was shocking. That was sad a little bit, but yeah, it was fun because it was fun. Something fun to learn.
Yeah, you have a very good point. Yeah,
and understand it, but yeah, it was a little bit sad. And yeah, because I love traveling. Because India was one of the best experiences I had in my life. I went to study, but I learned a lot about that place that actually was happy about it. So yeah, that's pretty much most of my life story.
That's amazing, man. I mean, and you've told me so many stories. It's
Yeah,
like, I mean, it's
a
like
lot.
when the apostles said of Jesus, there are so many other stories that they would fill all the books in the world,
All of it.
and there would be more. Like, that's you, man.
Even like every time I talk about my stories, there's parts that I forget, or like just imagine an entire lifetime of someone.
Yeah,
So
you've
a lot,
packed a lot in.
a lot in, a lot in.
I remember you telling me, because I mean, you're a pretty accomplished MMA fighter, and you've talked about how there's these just man-to-man bouts where it becomes this battle of will and who can endure it the most, who's got the pain tolerance, who can stand up to it. And I just wonder if you feel like you are just cut out for that you can take a lot by nature, or do you think that there's a psychological element that you've developed through your life experience that plays directly into into your toughness, your ability to stand up to an opponent?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit of both, because I'd say my mom is really strong physically. I took a lot from my mom, and naturally my mom can take it a lot. Like I seen her working in gardens and everything, and I seen trees falling over my mom and stuff like that. I actually fall off of trees, like I don't know, trees that was 10, 15, 13, 15 feet tall, whatever. Getting down of it, I fall, like I hit my head, my body on branches, and then fall all the way down and stuff like that. And then all the experience that I've been through pretty much made me stronger. Like sometimes I felt like I was drowning, and trying to, like, literally, I'll be sleeping and I dream that I'm drowning. I know that I'm dreaming, but I don't have, I don't, instead of waking up, trying to wake up from it, I'm not trying to wake up from it. I'm trying to fight that situation, like in the dream. And sometimes when you dream, there's actually something like drowning. There's actually something suffocating you, like from the outside,
Yeah.
like a pillow or something. So, I'll try to fight it. So I'll try to get myself calm or whatever that is, or fight it in some way. So that's created some strength mentally. Even when I got here, because I started MMA in India. MMA, because I used to do only boxing. I started MMA in India, and it was fun there. But when I got here, I actually met tougher people and everything. And I mean, not tougher than Indians, but actually pretty much the same mentality as I am as a fighter, as in the fighting world and everything. And when I started doing for instance, I take for example jiu-jitsu. When you get choked, like, you can actually feel yourself passing out. And when I noticed that, there's some point, my coach was the one who had to tell me at some point, we're just training here, so tap when you can't take it anymore. But try to get to yourself, to get to the point where you can get out. But still, when you can't, tap. Because in the beginning, I wasn't tapping. Because for me, there were always a way to get out of that situation. And most of the time, there actually is. And I learned from my coaches too, like most of my coaches, that they don't give up either that easy. So I would say experience in life pretty much developed that attitude in me of trying to get out of a situation, not giving up that easy. And parents that I have. My dad is a tough guy, but when it comes to his kids, their health and education, he's scared. He gets scared easy. My mom, she cries a lot, but
She's tough.
She's tough.
Yeah.
She's tough. Like physically, she's tough. She can go through a lot physically. So, and I believe the food that I've been eating too. But because when I came back home, we have those. I mean, food contributes to what a kid is. In Africa, there's a way you wash kids, you massage your kid, and stuff like that, so that they're strong. And I don't know if it works, but I believe it kind of does, because I never broke a bone, but I've been in a situation that I should have broke a bone.
Yeah.
But I never broke any. I mean, not that I jumped from a wall and hit my whatever that is. But I've been in a situation where my bone should have been broken. Like I went to the hospital. The doctor said that I should have broken the bone, but I never did. I didn't do because of pretty much because of what I was eating, being a kid. Yeah, just toughness and the way I was living too. I wasn't living when I was a kid, really young. When we had pretty much nothing. I was used to live in a bed that was pretty much as hard as the ground or whatever, stuff like that. So that just physically, even not only mentally but physically, also put your body in a position where it has to resist. It develops some toughness, something that makes your body ready for that kind of situations and stuff like that. Just like I don't get sick easy because I believe that all nasty stuff that I ate when I was a kid, like not from the house, but outside of the house, created that immunity from itself. And yeah, I've been in America for 3 years, going 4. I've never been sick. Thank to God, first of all. But as I say, God never always works through miracle. He works through pretty much what he created, like which is science stuff.
Reality is the
reality, yeah, exactly. So he works through all that, and yeah. So I say life and life.
Yeah, and you've taken circumstance and made the absolute best of it, and you've told your story brilliantly.
Exactly.
Thank you, Hardy.
Thank you.